FBDI process team, file-based data import for inbound interface or inbound pattern. Okay. So if you want to be load the data from on-premise systems to our Fusion application or any legacy system to our Fusion application team. If you want to be import the data, right? It could be journals as customers or invoices or sales orders, purchase orders, whatever. Any data, business data, if you want to be import from any system store Fusion application, inbound patterns will come into picture. Okay, these inbound patterns will use with the help of FBDI team, file-based data import. Within the naming itself, we'll import the data with help of file team, file-based. Okay. So this FBDI process is suitable for supply chain management and the financial modules. It's not suitable for HCM team. For an HCM, we have data loaders. For HCM module, we have a data loaders. For CRM module, we have import management. Okay, this FBDI is suitable for only SCM and financials. So moreover, in the real time, 90% you will get opportunity to work with SCM and finance. Very rare HCM and very, very rare for the CRM. Okay, so if you are expertise with this FBDI, you may work on CRM, which is very easy rating. Okay, whereas HCM data loaders, we do have a separate topic for this. After FBDI, we will see this on HCM for the data loaders team for inbound patterns. Okay, so within the RTL team, you have this open interface table concept, right? You may get a file data, you may get a CSV file data, right, from client. You may load the file data to the custom table using SQL developer team. Okay. So you may load the file data to the custom table using SQL loader. How the data will be loaded to the custom table using SQL loader team? You may create concurrent program for this. Am I right, team? You may
Yes.
Yes.
concurrent program for this to load the data from CSV file to your
Okay.
custom table by using SQL loader, right? So perform the validations using PL SQL package. Okay. You may perform the validations using PL SQL package. And so based on validations, you may push the data to the, you may load the data to interface table team, right? Again, how the data will be loaded to the interface table team by using your concurrent program, right? Concurrent program. So you may submit standard concurrent program here, team, right? Which is import the interface table data to the base table. So what will do the standard concurrent program team? So this will perform all the standard validations against your interface table data. The post validations data will be load to your base table team. If any errors are there while importing the data will goes to the interface table or the interface respective error table. Right, team? This is your open interface table concept.
Yes.
Everyone, good right team here? The
Yes.
interface pattern within the R12. The same process we will follow within the Fusion application team. Within the Fusion application, here you may load FBDA CSV file data. You may load the CSV file data to the interface table using SQL. There is no change team. Here also Oracle using SQL loader concept with help of Java. Okay. So there's a standard ESS job is there. The standard ESS job will load the data to the interface table with the help of SQL loader team. Okay. So here you are performing validations, right? There is no PL SQL concept here. To perform the validation stream, it's out of scope. Later on, we'll see how we can perform the validation. As of now, within the manual FBDA process, it's out of scope. There is no PL SQL validations within the application team. So here there is a C team here. There is observation. Within the R12, you are inserting the data to the SQL loader by using one of the custom table, right? Whereas in Fusion application, you may load the CSV file data to the interface table team, not your custom table. It's only two-step process. Data will directly goes to your interface table with the help of SQL loader, with the help of your ESS job. Once data is successfully loaded, you may submit the standard ESS job to, which will validate the data and load the data to the base table. The same, if any errors are there, the error information will update into the interface table or the respective error table. Okay. So as I said, this is step one within the Fusion application to load the data to the interface table, and this is step two team. Step two. Okay. Now we'll see how the step one will work, which is very in detail, right? Which is we'll see very in detail how it works. So FBDI process involves in two stages team. Stage one or step one, import the data from FBDI file to the interface table. Import the data from FBDI file to the interface table. So before going to the stage one, I would like to show how the file will be looks like FBDI file, where you need to find what are the dependencies for that. Okay. First navigate to docs.oracle.com here. Something financials, administer, and get started with FBDI, which is import the data. These are all the FBDI process team for inbound patterns. So here I would like to select, for example, there is a payables standard invoice import team. So this FBDI is responsible to load the data to the Fusion application for AP invoices team here. Okay. So object owner owns the payables. For this FBDI, UCM account team, financials, payables, import. This is a UCM account. Okay. And this is FBDI file team, XLSM template. Click on this FBDI physical file. It will download to the local machine team. Open the file. This is called FBDI file, which is macro enabled sheet. This is macro enabled sheet team. Here you have one of the common sheet instructions and CSV generation, where in the first sheet you may get some instructions from Oracle side, how you need to be load the data, what are the things you need to be considered while generating the data team. So there is a button generate CSV file, which will write your sheets data team. Right here, see, okay, keep aside generate CSV file. Apart from instructions and CSV generation, you may have interface tables here team for your business entity or the business object AP invoices. So Oracle is saying to load AP invoices data, there are interface table standard ones, AP invoice interfaces, AP invoice lines interfaces. There are two interface tables are there team. Okay, and it to be populate the data within the AP invoice interface, and you need to be populate the data for the lines interface to load the AP data to your Fusion application team. Okay, so how you will get the data, how you will perform the validation, that we will see later. Okay, now we have the two interface table. The way depends on the business entity, business object. You may have n number of interface tables team. You may have n number of interface tables along with your instructions and CSV generation common sheet. Assume you populated the data to the interface and the lines interface, and when you click on generate CSV file, what it will do, it will write the data from AP invoice interface sheet data to the CSV file, and the CSV file name could be AP invoice interface. Similarly, AP invoice lines interface.csv will write the data to that CSV file. The way when you click on generate CSV file, it will generate two CSV files along with your respective data, and these two files will be zipped in one of the zip file in one of the zip file. Okay, let me do that. Just I'm blocking it here. Okay, here I'm click on generate CSV file. Now it is trying to write the data into two interface table stream. Now we need to be save this file. Click on the save. Now it is trying to write the data to the respective CSV file stream. CSV and zip file have been created. Now you may navigate to here, so and so folder. This is my file team. AP invoice import.zip. Just unzip it. It has two file stream. It's a comma separated, and you may see the data, which is comma separated, trials by null columns. If there are nulls, you may see the null columns here, comma separated. Okay. It's about FBDI file, how it looks. Each FBDI file contains its own UCM quantity. Whenever you submit a process with that zip file, first the zip file will goes to this UCM account by default. The way if every business object does have its own UCM account followed by your FBDI process. And here you may see we downloaded the sheet, right? And you may see the schedule process. Okay, this we will see later. And it has, three interface table stream. For AP, we have two interface table stream. Okay, and it has the control file stream. Obviously, if you have two interface tables, nothing but there are two control file stream. Click on this control file. You may download the control file here too. Just you may see the structure of the control file. We cannot modify anything here in the structure. Load data, append the data team, insert into so-and-so table. Just you may verify how Oracle is inserting the data to the interface table for the default values, or some, if any errors are there, you may verify this control file, how Oracle is loading the data team. Okay, this may helpful sometime. This is about file so-and-so team. Any doubts, any clarification so far? Before move on to the stage one.
How the custom validation will then when is inserting data directly to the interface table. Like
We'll see.
business validation will be there, like in the EBS, we will have the business validation. Based on that, we'll insert data into the staging table, then we'll move to the interface table.
That is, we'll see later, Mama.
Okay.
Others team, any doubts so far, whichever we had seen? Okay, cool.
So how to find a FBDI based on a particular table? If I have only a table for
No
which
need to find any table name here as independent. You need to be find the FBDI process name only. Okay, each FBDI process has its own interface tables. As we downloaded one of the sheet, right, for to load the AP data. To load the AP data, so it has this is sheet we downloaded. This sheet depends on two interface tables. Okay.
okay, but if I ask in the reverse, if how do I know what is the process?
The process name will give you your functional team, which process you want to be used. Okay. The functional team will give you which process you need to be used to load the data. Or you can easily identify, depends on the business object or depends on the requirement. You may easily, find the process within the FBDI list within the docs.oracle.com.
Okay.
So Vijay, I have one question. Suppose
Yep.
we are inputting suppliers. We do have a supplier number which should be generated automatically. That is one of the setup, right? So how that is taken care with respect to FBDI? Will it take whatever number we give, or is there any?
No, if it is automatically generated from the UI, right, you need to be ignore the supplier number field to be populate within the FPDA process.
Okay, okay, okay.
However,
So
the supplier
same,
number or the customer number, customer account number, we may generate by default, right? If
yeah.
it is sequence. The moment you need to be, ignored within the process.
Okay. The same goes with the system item also. If we have a system item generation as a sequence generated method instead of user defined, so if we try to load items through this FBDI, so we ignore the item
Exactly. Yep.
column. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
It depends if there is sequence is maintaining you, right? So
Hmm.
obviously there is some other combination to validate the data. Okay, for each FBDA process, there is a combination of a set of columns to validate the data for a unique record. Obviously, we need a unique record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But we
Okay.
will see later how it works. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Other stream, freshers. Freshers, you guys are following the process as of now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. C team, the stage one, import the data from FBDA file to the interface table. So this is my FBDA file team, right? This is my FBDA file .zip. You need to be import the data from this file to your interface table within the stage one or the step one team here. So there is a standard ESS job, load interface file for import. There is a standard ESS job, load interface file for import. Okay. It has two parameters, process name and the data file. Process name is nothing but the business entity or the business objective. This process name, you may get it against your everyday process, schedule process name. For payable standard invoice import, the process name is need to be used import payable invoice system here. Okay, the way if it is import journals, you may use import journals. If it is import customers, you may use import customers. Okay, depends on the entity. The process name you may get it from your against a BDA process. Okay, so the data file, the next parameter data file is zip format. Zip file contains CSV file. As I have shown, there is zip file, right? The zip file you need to be select here. Okay, and once you satisfy these two parameters, submit the ESS job team. So what it will do, it will transfer the data from CSV file against your zip file. There is CSV file team, right? In CSV files, it will transfer the data to the interface tables team. Okay. So how exactly it will insert the data to the interface table with help of your CSV files. Okay, so this ESH job will be trigger the child ESH job stream, which are transfer file to the UCM server, transfer file to the UCM server. So whenever you submit this ESH job, this zip file will be transferred to your respective UCM account team. This UCM account is so and so, right? The file will be transferred to the UCM account by default as automate process stream. No need to be enter anything here. Against your FBDA process name, we are giving the FBDA process name right team. Against this reference, the file will be transferred to the your UCM server. Within the UCM server, this ESS job will be unzip the file and ready to process the data with help of CSV files. CSV files are now unzipped it by using this ESS job. Immediately load file to interface ESS job will be triggered. This is the important one. Immediately load file to interface ESS job will be submitted. This ESS job will load the data to the interface table with help of your SQL loader. Indirectly, SQL loader will use control file to insert the data to the interface table. This is your control file team here. These are two control files. With help of these control files, it will insert the data to your interface table. For your zip file, right? The zip file does have two CSV files team, nothing but the load file to interface ESO job will be submitted 2 times for each interface table. This ESO job will be submitted 2 times for each interface table. If your zip file contain 10 CSV files. Nothing but this load file interface will be submitted 10 times for each interface table team. For each interface table, it will submit as 10 times. So these are the load interface file for import. So whenever load interface file for import is a job will be complete with a success status. With a success status, your data in your interface table team. Your data in your interface table. If it is a warning status, data not in interface table. Okay, that we will see next how it works. Before that, up to here, any doubts? Team followed?
Yes.
Uh, what happens to the DFFs? Like,
We'll
is
see
there
later.
is a provision?
Please, whatever we discussing here, right? On this, if you have any doubts, please. No doubts? Team, it's clear? ESA job and followed by the process, how the data will be inserted in interface table. It's clear? Team, I need a confirmation whether you followed or not.
Yes, we follow.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Now, as
So
I said,
there's
yeah,
one thing, like while uploading the file, so there's a naming convention, something like that we need to follow, or it's whatever the
everything will maintain by Oracle itself. No need to provide anything from your end. See, we clicked on generate CSV file, everything generated by Oracle itself, right?
Okay, yeah.
Did we enter anything manually? No. Everything will be taken by Oracle itself as a macro enabled sheet, that is. There is no user intervention to generate the files. It's a complete macro enabled sheet. Our job is just you need to be populate the data into your FBDI file against your interface table. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now, as I said, if the load interface file for import job will be completed with success status team, then only your data in interface table. Assume there are three interface tables team. Nothing but there are three CSV file, headget parties, headget party sites, headget locations. Okay. So the lower file interface will be submitted 3 times team, right? So the first one completed with a success status. The second one also completed with a success status. The third one, while loading the data to the interface table, there is a issues. It's a complete with a warning status team. Warning status. Obviously, your parent load interface file for import ESA job status will be warning status. It will complete with a warning status because subsequent one of the child ESA job status warning status, right? If it is a warning among the ESA jobs team, if it is a warnings among the load file to interface, or if any one of the ESA job load file interface a warning status, it won't be support the partial data to load the interface table team. See, the first one is success, second one is success, right? Third one is failed. Obviously, the subsequent success data, whichever inserted to the interface table, these data will be rolled back to team. Because there is one of the CSV sheet is a warning status. The subsequent success data, by default, it will roll back if any errors are there within the load file interface of any one of the ESS job. It won't support partial import the data to the interface table within the FBDI process. Okay. If any errors are there, any CSV file, it won't support for the partial import team. 10 records in a file, 2 records in errors team. Assume forget about these two. Only the parties.csv, there are 10 records are there. 2 records are failure team. 2 records are rejected while loading the data to the interface table. 8 records obviously roll back from the interface table and it won't support the partial import data. This is use case one. Use case two, if you have more than one interface table, if any issues are there, one of the interface table, it won't support partial import the data to the others interface table team. It will roll back the data. You need to be again correct the data to the edge locations.csv file. Again, click on generate CSV file, generate the zip file, submit the load interface file for import. If these three complete with success status, then only the parent program will be complete with success status, and you may see the data in your interface table. Okay. So FBDI process itself roll back all the data from the interface table, which are inserted, correct the failure data in FBDI file, and reprocess the same to submit a load interface file for import if any errors are there in any one of your load file to interface, nothing but any CSV file or any interface table. Here CSV file or interface table or load file to interface table, load file to interface team. These three naming conventions nothing but it is pointing to your one of the interface table. Team, it's clear? The stage one. Any doubts here?
Yeah, Vijay, so ES's job will show the errors
Exactly, yeah.
yeah,
Because
okay.
we are using SQL loader, right? The control file.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously it will generate the discard file or the bad file. Why it has failure.
Okay.
You may see the rejected records over there. Other stream, any doubts here? It's clear, stage one.
Yes, sir.
Everyone will say the stage one is clear, right? Once we done all the sessions, at the last we'll review the interview, so on the Q&A, right? I will ask the question for a load interface file for import. Okay, I have 10 records. I submitted load interface file for import with the 10 records. 8 records are successfully inserted to the interface table. 2 records are failure. How I can load the 2 records to the, again interface table? The question clear?
Yes, Vijay.
Yes.
And how the 2 records will be loaded to the interface table again?
No.
No. You need to be very clear, team. The
Mm.
way straight away in FBDI process, when you attend the questions, sorry, when you attend the interviews, they will ask the question which is a negative scenario, team. 98% people will give an answer. Again, 8 records I will delete from the FBDI CSV file. 2 records I will be correct. Again, I will submit the load interface file for import. So that 2 records also there in my interface table. The way first iteration 8, second iteration 2. And 10 records are there in my interface table. 98% I will get this answer from people team. Every day I'm taking 2 to 3 profiles. The default question I will ask them. Without thinking, they will give an answer. The conclusion, they did not work on FBDA process. Am I right, team?
One question, like
Yeah.
a Z party and that party's and location. For the first file itself got in a warning to
Mhm.
go for the second and third, or will stop there
Obviously,
itself,
it will go. It will try to validate all the data.
all the data. Okay.
All the data, yeah. You may see a success status, but this data not in interface table if subsequent sheet in a warning status. Because we need to know, right, which are success, which are failures. Okay.
So, one quick question, uh, when we insert this process, uh, parties creation, it has three CSVs, but I wanted to pass only two CSVs data. Is it possible?
It's possible, yeah. That is the depends on the business entity how it works. That it's a structure,
Huh.
right?
Huh. So I don't want to create a locations. I just wanted to create parties and party sites.
So while creating a customer within the application itself following one of the process to load to show the data on the UI. Similarly, you need to be load the data from the backend as well. When you load edge parties.csv, you won't see the data in your screen on your screen.
Mm.
It has set of tables to be populated. I have 18 sheets for my customer's FBDI process. So it's not supposed to be load 18 sheets data, right?
Yeah.
Whichever set you need to be load the data. You may load one of the table, it will accept, but you won't see the data in your on your UI. Okay,
So
that
there's
is
a
it.
possibility, like in all the three CSV, there's some dependency, like edge parties to party side
Obviously,
to
into the
location.
dependencies, right?
So in that case, means we have to load, like, or
Yes.
we, how do we know that what are the dependencies over there in each file?
Not only here, whichever object you are the business object you are working, right? You need to be know the
Right.
complete structure of the business cycle for that, and what are the interface tables, what are the base tables are involving, how the data will be, sit in your base table while creating the transaction from the UI. You need to be know all the process. Then only you may
Okay.
clear on the everyday process how it works.
So in Oracle documentation, will we get anything
No,
like in edge
no, you
parties?
won't
These
get
are the
anything.
foreign key,
You won't get
like
anything,
these.
but Oracle is
o-
making some reference data between the sheet.
Okay.
Whenever you download any standard sheet from the FBDI, right? Talks
Right.
with Oracle.com. Oracle is maintaining for each and every day process sample data. With the help of sample data, you may find what are the relationship between two sheets.
Okay.
That is, I will explain how it works. Okay.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So this about stage one team. Stage two, which is very simple. Okay. Same as on-premise. You may submit the schedule process. Within the schedule process, you may submit the main import ESA job team. You may submit main import ESA job, which is responsible to load the data from your interface table to the base table team. The main import ESA job itself validate the data from the interface table. The post validation data will go to your base table team. Data will be loaded to your base table. So one of the use case, you may submit import journals ESA job team. 95 to 98 percentage, 95 to 98 percentage, whichever you are giving the load interface file for import process name, right? This process name we are getting from against your FBDA process, right? The same process name, it's nothing but your main import ESA job team. The main import ESA job. So within the schedule process, you may directly submit these import journals. Every main import ESA job has its own parameters team. It has its own parameters. Every main import ESA job has its own parameters. You need to be fulfill the parameters to pick the data from your interface table. Okay, you need to be fulfill the parameters to select the data or to pick the data from your interface table. So what it will do, it will validate the data and insert the same into the interface tables. If it is journal, right, it may insert the data to the GLJ batches, headers, and the lines so and so. While validating the data, if any errors are there, okay, it will support the partial import data team. Out of 10 records, there are issue with 8 records. 8 records will be goes to the interface table. Again, this is depends on the business entity team. Straight away, it won't be insert the data to the interface, to the base table, which are the 8 records team. That is depends on the business entity. How depends on your main import ESA job, how it will load the data to the base table. Okay, that is you may work as a POC team. That is, you may work as a POC. Okay, as you will see later how it works. Okay, so example out of 100, 80 records are successfully processed the base table, right? So now 20 records will be struck. 20 records struck in interface table team, or 20 records are there in your interface error table. Okay, so how you will load these 20 records to again to the base table team. So before loading these 20 records in the second iteration, already these 20 records, failure records are available in your interface table within the first iteration with a failure status, right? So it's time to reprocess the data for 20 records team. It's time to reprocess data for the 20 records. So assume you informed the client someone's issue with 20 records. Client corrected these 20 records in your interface table team. Sorry, in your CSV file. Client corrected those 20 records, whichever they give in the file. Client will not be take any headache, which are data successfully loaded to the base table team. Again, they will give you the 100 records with you, corrected these 20 records. You will get 100 records, right? The set and those 20 records they will give you. Or if it is setup issue, they will perform the setup on the application and they will give you confirmation. We created so setup. You may reprocess the data. Assume payment term is missing. Net 45 payment term is there. Payment term is these 20 records payment and is net 45. These are net 30. Net 30 are successfully loaded, but net 45 got failure due to payment term setup is missing. So inform to the client or the functional team, they created the setup team, right? There is no issue with the data. There is no issue with data, right? Then how will reprocess the data team? Again, you need to be delete the data from the interface table team. For the second iteration, you need to be delete the data before performing the second iteration team. You need to be delete the data from the interface table by submitting one of the standard ESA job for the interface tables. This is called stage 3. Here it has two parameters, process name and the load request ID. Process name already you have import journals, right? Whichever schedule process name. You need to give an import journals process name. And when you submit the load interface file for import, for each, it will generate load request ID, one of the process ID team. This process ID will be maintained for each record in your CSV files, nothing but in your interface table. For each interface table, you have the load request ID. This load request ID is populated against this ESA job submission team. So here you have the load request ID. You need to be pass the load request ID, get from the interface table. Okay. If you have 10 interface tables, right? Nothing but for the 10 interface table, load request ID only one team. You need to be pass the request ID so that when you submit the purge interface table, data will be deleted against the load request ID from all the 10 interface tables. If it is 2, 2 interface tables. If it is 5, 5 interface table. The way your interface table will be cleans. The way your interface table will be cleans and empty. Indirectly, delete GL interface table where load request ID so and so it will perform indirectly. Okay. Again, reiterate the process, which is the stage 1 and the stage 2. Stage 1 and the stage 2 team. Okay, so that your 20 records will be goes to the interface table. We'll see that is how it works. It's about reprocess team to correct your data from your interface table, to delete the data. You need to be purge the data. Okay. So this is about FBDI process does work stream. You need to be know very clean. You need to be know very keen in detail how the process will be work stream. If you know this process, which is very in detail how it works, the use case will be very easy to be handled in. Okay. Any doubts here, team? Move on to the next.
Yeah, we are deleting the specific records of 20 records based on the request ID.
Yes.
So that request ID may have the 3 Excel sheets data, and some of them are maybe correct. 1 or 2 sheets are correct in the related. All the data is available in the interface table because of that one only. But a few are related to third sheet related data is giving error. So in such a case, we have to remove all the request ID related data. Why?
Here,
Because
no
some
need
of
to
them.
be within the main import ESS job, right? Here, you know, no need to verify the sheet specific here. Okay. These 2 sheets data may goes to the one base table. There is a chance, right? There's a probability. These 2 sheets data will goes to the one interface table. There is a chance. The way these 3 sheets data will goes to 3 interface table, or these 2 sheets will data goes to the two base tables followed by some relationships. There's a chance. So for the main import is a job, if any errors are there, you may refer on the load request ID. So obviously it will delete the data from set of the ESS, set of your interface tables, not for one of the interface table.
So partial data insert will happen in the second stage.
Yes.
Whereas in the first stage, if any error comes, the whole file will be
Yes,
rejected
exactly.
and no records will be loaded from the file.
It's empty.
Yeah, this when the partial data is inserting into the base tables, so is what are the various scenarios available in
That is
that?
I will show you when we are working with. I will show you the use case for journals and the customers. Okay, we'll load the data for journals and customers. There you will understand how the main import is a job will be works.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay. One quick question.
Yeah.
This is similar to like what we have on premise. There is
Yeah.
one GL interface table, and processed will be processed, and there will be a status, and we can patch. But with case of invoices, header is imported, but the lines are not imported. What we do in that case?
It won't be import the data for a header. It won't.
Okay,
It
it won't
won't.
import.
Yeah.
So, okay, it's good.
That is depends on the business entity, which how it works. That is the, once we'll see the use case, right, you can easily understand how it works. The relationships are between the sheets, and if some errors are there within the stage two, how yes a job will be behaved, so also we can easily understand. Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Other stream still. So
So
yeah,
is there any provision to adjust the status or data in interface table, or no? It's
no,
only
cannot,
the
cannot. Our responsible to manipulate the data within the sheet only, the CSV sheet. And that CSV sheet data also need to be populated as per Oracle's given instructions. Okay. So within the sheet, you may have a couple of straight away static values, couple of list of values, couple of, some derivation values, right? So depends on the business entity. You need to be, populate the data within the CSV sheet still. Okay. Now, how the requirement will comes from the client? The next question, before loading the data, before seeing the use case, first, the biggest question, how you will receive the data from a client team, right? So before that team, whenever you will get an opportunity to work with an FBDI process, client or the functional team will give a heads up to you, so and so process we need to load the bulk data to the application team. Okay, then functional team will guide you. Hey Vijay, please use this journal import FBDI process and try to load some dummy data from your side. Very soon, we'll get a requirement from a client. We'll get a requirement from a client to load the bulk data from, by using this FBDI process or AP invoice, whatever, right? So when they will give you any FBDI process team, first you need to be work as a POC purpose. The proof of concept you need to be work, how the process works. So what are the things you need to be maintained within the POC team? The positive scenarios, the negative scenarios, how the data will be loaded to the base table. If it is a failure, how the reprocess will be works. These two things plus how the main import ESA job will be works. These three things you need to be considered for a POC team, for a POC. Okay. So assume you working on this AP invoice import, right? You may download this sheet as a POC purpose. Before that, open the sheet and follow the instructions CSV generation team. Here we do not have any instructions, but other sheets we may have some, more valuable data team just need to be followed. So here AP invoice interface, lines interface team. Okay, here you need to be obviously team. It's a header, it's a lines table, right? There is a relationship between these two tables. Am I right?
yes.
Obviously, there is a relationship between these two interface tables. Okay, So you need to be verify Oracle reference data here. Oracle reference data, how the relationship is maintained between the sheets. Between the sheets. Okay? We need to identify that. That is the biggest challenge here. They need to be identify how the relationship is Oracle is maintaining with the help of this reference data. Once it
Invoice ID.
Yeah, once invoice ID, right? So that's the same. There is no change, the primary key to the foreign key relationships. So once it is done, team, verify all the columns data, how Oracle is populating. If you don't know anything, if it is AP, invoice, GL, AR, customer, something we know, right? If it is a complete new module, project, if you are working, projects module you are working, you are zero about the process team. Nothing but the data perspective, you are zero, you don't know anything. No worries, just get a conversation or get a call with your functional team and you need to be verify these columns, all these columns with your functional team.
Invoice ID is system generated ID.
Please keep aside as of now, okay? So business unit, source, invoice number, invoice amount, invoice date, supplier number, right? These you don't know anything team how to be populate. Your functional team will guide you how this information gets from the application. How they will get you team? Simply they will create a test transaction from UI. They will create one of the invoice from the UI and they will share you the invoice number to you team. And they will get you from this invoice number from the application. You need to be get all this information and get valid data and try to populate and try to load the data for one of the invoice. One of the invoice you need to be get the reference from your application and load the data here or populate the data within a CSV sheets for each interface table. Obviously, if you open an invoice, you may have a header and followed with the lines, right team on the UI. Invoice header, invoice lines. Here also you may have two interface tables, get the reference data from there and whichever you knows from the application, populate the data here team. The rest of the columns you may highlight with your highlighter and that you may get it from your functional team as a clarification. Before that, every column Oracle is giving in a hint here team. Every column. Here you may see the business unit name, which is a user defined name. But this business unit column representing operating unit column from your AP invoice interface dot operating unit, which is varchar to 240 characters sold to business unit name. See here, source. It's AP invoice interface dot source column team. Okay, which is indicates the feeder system from which an invoice is imported. Okay, and Oracle is giving some instructions at the hence how we need to be get the source name team. Navigation steps to find the valid values, navigate to setup and maintenance, search and go to task manage payable lookups. In search region, enter the lookup type source, click the search to view the various lookup codes. Indirectly, it's an LOB value from the UI. You need to be get it from the source's task. Okay. So this is invoice number, unique number for supplier invoice, which is AP invoice interface dot invoice num, invoice amount and supplier name, right? So invoice type team. So here, see. The comments team, the type of invoice being imported, such as standard invoice, credit memo, or prepayment. Valid values are standard, credit, and the prepayment. There are three values you may use: standard, credit, and the prepayment. Depends on the scenario. The way with the help of these comments, with the help of a reference record from the UI, 95% you may get the data for your sample record to be load the data in within the CSV file. Okay, the way you may work on, assume you loaded one of the record positive scenario, and for a negative scenario, you may populate invalid invoice type and load the data, how it works, the main import process, and how you need to be correct the data. You will get some idea over there, team. Okay, so once it is done, right? From your side, you're ready to load the data for the bulk team from the client, right? Assume how you get the data from the client team. Client will place a simple Excel sheet in their FTP server team. Client will place these invoice data in a simple Excel sheet. The simple Excel sheet team contains headers and the lines information. Headers and the lines information, which is simple Excel sheet, or client may populate the data in a simple Excel sheet followed by two sheets team, headers and the lines. It's their visibility. They will populate the data into the Excel sheet and they will place the data in your their FTP server. You will get an FTP access and they will give you communication. We place the file in so and so location. Please proceed the data in a dev environment for these invoices. You need to get that file from FTP server, and already you have one of the record or couple of records you loaded as a POC purpose, right, team? With the help of that references, very first step, what are the columns you are getting from the client? You need to be highlight. The remaining columns which are missing in this FBDI sheet, that is you need to be have a conversation with your client or the functional team, how you need to be get the data. So if it is a derivation, it is some logic source they will give you. If it is static values, they will give you it. So with the help of that, you need to be populate others missing data and load the data to your application. And you need to be copy paste the data from Excel sheet to here in your CSV file, which is a complete manual task team. You need to be very take care. As of now, there is no manual process. All the clients are using integrations to load the data from your CSV file to your interface tables directly. By using FBDI process, we are using OS integrations as an automation process team. There is no manual process now. Okay. First, we'll see how the manual process will works. So again, with the help of this FBDI, right, the use case, when integration sessions will be start writing, there also we'll see how we can load the data by using FBDI process through integrations.
Okay, one quick question. You said that if any of the column needs any calculations, that how do we do that here? If let's say
The functional team will give you, they will suggest you how we need to perform.
any example?
Within the Excel, you need to be perform calculations, right? Excel sheet.
Okay.
There you may create one more column, perform, apply, the formula, so that you may get a new column, right, over there. That data you need to be copy paste here. That won't be happen in real time, but you need to know, right, how to load the data, which is a manual process. So whereas in real time, we have a ATP database we'll get over there. So we'll write the PL SQL packages, right? And to manipulate the data. Same as on-prem. Okay. First we'll see tomorrow the GL journal use case team, which it has only one interface table, which is GL interface. We'll see the positive scenarios and negative scenarios team, how we can load the data to the base table, which is very spoon feeding we'll see team from application journal creation to this data loads to the base table from FBDI using FBDI team. Okay, if you really practice that journal use case, whichever we will see within the sessions team, you will get a confidence to work on FBDI process. Okay, then after we'll see the most complex FBDI process within the Fusion application is customer import team. It has 18 interface table, which is very biggest chain process, TCA architecture. So that's it for